required to be submitted with respect to the confidential expenses are complete without even checking the veracity of the information contained in these documents compared to the audit of regular funds where transactions need further substantiation. This must be addressed to prevent not only leakage of government resources but to close an avenue for graft and corruption. The mission of the committee is to craft a bill considering this relevance, these revelations to regulate and ensure the proper use of confidential funds. Maraming salamat po. I now call on the COMSEC to provide the committee an update on the invitations, requests, correspondences, submissions, and compliances.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before that, I would like to recognize the presence of our member, Honorable Loreto S. Amante of the 3rd District of Laguna, and Honorable Arnan C. Panaligan, 1st District of Oriental Mindoro. Your Honor, for today's attendees, we have invited Colonel Raymond Dante Pila Chica of the VPPSG. However, he sent his regrets, stating that he cannot attend due to prior equally important commitment. Mr. Morales is also the same, Your Honor. He cannot attend today. The Land Bank of the Philippines was invited. They have sent a list of their delegates. AVP Nanita Camposano, DOTC branch, District DM Joyce L. Eclavea, DepEd branch, Attorney Rafael Christopher L. Yap, Special Legal Concerns. However, they are still not physically present in this hearing, Your Honor. We are also in receipt of the position papers of the Office of the Vice President from the individuals who were subject of the subpoena ad duces tecum and from the invitees coming from the satellite offices, Your Honor. They are not present in today's hearing, Your Honor. The Department of Budget Management and Management were also invited. However, they have a hearing in the Senate today and expressed their regrets in today's hearing, Your Honor. For the subpoena ad duces tecum, Your Honor, it was service was refused. It was served on November 2. However, it was
Duces tecum or ad testificandum?
Pardon, Your Honor, subpoena ad testificandum. The Legislative Service Bureau of the Congress tried to physically serve it on November 2 to the DepEd. However, service was refused by the agency security, stating that they are no longer connected, particularly the spouses Edward D. Fajarda and Attorney Sunshine Chari A. Fajarda. When it was served to the Office of the Vice President in their office in Mandaluyong, the security of the building himself said that he will not accept it. It was again served yesterday, November 4, but the legal of the OVP refused to actually receive the subpoena ad duces tecum, Your Honor, but it was sent to their email last night. Please do note that the hearing was of October 28 was postponed due to the Typhoon Christine, as earlier stated by Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, the chair would like to recognize the senior vice chair, Bienvenido Abante.
Just would like to find out who is the one that did not accept the letter and what is his position.
COMSEC, please answer the query of Congressman Abante.
Your Honor, this is based on the report of the Legislative Service Bureau. From the legal department of the Vice President, they were in coordination with her, Attorney Emily Torrentira. She was the one who refused to accept the subpoena, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, is there any reason why she refused to accept the invitation? Did she give any reason, Mr. Chair?
What is the reason?
Your Honor, the Office of the Vice President submitted a position paper dated today, signed by the individual subject of the subpoena ad tuces tecum. Part of their excuses was that to follow the procedure, the 3-day subpoena, service of subpoena procedure under the rules. However, they stated here that there was no subpoena received, but they refused to receive the same, Your Honor. Second, justification, Your Honors, the subject matter of the deliberation is not in aid of legislation and violative of the rights of the resource persons. They also raised jurisdictional issue and their right to decline invitations. And lastly, sub judice, because of pending cases in the pending case in the Supreme Court, Your Honor. The position paper respectfully submitted November 5, 2024 were signed by the following individuals: Attorney Zuleika T. Lopez, Attorney Emmanuel Lemuel G. Ortonio, Attorney Rosaline L. Sanchez, Julieta L. Villa del Rey, Gina F. Acosta, Attorney Sunshine Chari A. Fajarda, and Mr. Edward D. Fajarda, Your Honors. There is another second position paper. However, this pertains to the satellite offices, the lead managers of the satellite offices, and not subject of the subpoena, Your Honors.
Mr. Chair, did these people who have invited wrote to us a personal letter why they cannot attend, or it was just more of the person that actually said that they cannot accept the invitation?
Your Honor, it was not signed by the person who refused to actually receive yesterday. It was signed by the subject of the subpoena ad duces tecum, Your Honor. The subjects of the subpoena.
Are all of these invited, Mr. Chair, still active in the Vice President's office, or they were actually working with the Vice President in a DepEd? Are they now working with the Vice President in her office as Vice President, Mr. Chair?
Pardon, Your Honor, I would like to correct my statement. It is subpoena ad tuces ad testificandum, Your Honor. For the position paper, Your Honor, the committee and the Secretariat has information that Attorney Sunshine Chari A. Fajarda was formerly an ASEC of the Department of Education. In the previous hearing, the position papers she submitted to the committee was did not use the header of the Office of the Vice President. However, from the start of our hearings, Your Honor, Mr. Edward D. Fajarda, formerly the SDO of the Department of Education, submitted his position papers under the header of the Office of the Vice President. It was only today, in view of this position paper submitted today, that the Secretariat was made aware that Attorney Sunshine Chari A. Fajarda is now with the Office of the Vice President, considering that she signed her name here under the header of the OVP.
As to the question of Congressman Abante, with respect to the status of this subject, siguro we can ask the former undersecretary or the spokesman of the Vice President, Attorney Poa, if are you still connected with the, well, I understand that you are no longer connected with DepEd, but how about in the Office of the Vice President? Are you still connected?
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I would like to inform the Honorable Committee that I am no longer connected po with the Office of the Vice President. Hindi na po ako, yung consultancy contract ko po was already pre-terminated, Your Honor.
Not even as a spokesman?
Wala na rin po ako as spokesperson.
Okay, but are you aware of the status of the people who are subject of the subpoena?
Opo.
Are they still connected?
Honestly, Your Honor, when I was still there, yes, they were connected with the OVP. Although, as of today, hindi ko na po talaga masabi factually if they are still connected or not. I would assume because of the position paper with the letterhead that they're still connected. But I cannot confirm that because nagpaalam po ako, nagpaalam po ako na umalis prior pa po to the previous hearing that we had.
Mr. Chair, I assume
Yes, Congressman Abante.
that Attorney Poa knows all of these people personally, di ba?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your
Oo.
Honor.
So therefore, siguro, at present, alam mo pa rin kung sino yung connected to Vice President.
Yes, Your Honor.
Who are those people still connected with the Vice President?
Your Honor, as far
As
as,
you know it.
as far as I know, those people are still connected with the Vice President. Although as of today, I really do not have personal knowledge. But as far as I know, they are still connected with the
Mr. Chair, how about Ms. Lopez? Is she still connected?
As far as I know, Your Honor.
Mr. Gonzaga?
Gonzaga,
Yeah, Emmanuel Gonzaga Ortonio.
yes, Your Honor. As far as I know.
How about Rosalyn Dolores Sanchez?
As far as I know, Your Honor.
Gina Acosta?
I don't have any interaction with her, but when I was there, yes, I know that she was connected with them.
About Julieta Villa del Rey?
As far as I know, Your Honor.
Edward Fajarda?
Yes, as far as I
And
know.
Sunshine Chari Fajarda?
As far as I know as well, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, I would assume that if all of these are connected with the Vice President, it is the Vice President herself that asked them not to attend this hearing.
So may I know if all these subject persons that were mentioned by the Honorable Abante are still, do you have any travel update?
Your Honor,
Are they still? Yes, Congressman.
Mr. Chair, may I also? Mr. Chair.
Congressman Sia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In line with the question of Chairman Abante, well, I'd like also to ask Attorney Pao, because she mentioned certain number of names and you confirmed that they are still connected with the Office of the Vice President. Would you also know if an individuals by the name of Kelvin Tunido and Maria Edeline Rabaco are still also connected with the Office of the Vice President?
Your
Attorney
Honor,
Pao, please
Mr. Chair.
respond.
Your Honor, I am not familiar with them because when I was spokesperson, I only dealt with the upper management. Although yung Mr. Kelvin, I think I recall his name.
Yeah.
Although I cannot, in all honesty, say if
But
he's
while
still connected.
when at the time that you were connected with the Vice President, have you met these people? Would you say that? Yeah?
Briefly, Your Honor, because of the budget hearings that
Okay.
time.
Are they career officers of OVP?
I honestly wouldn't know, Your Honor.
Thank
Kasi
you.
I was only a consultant, Your Honor, so I beg your indulgence on that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Attorney. Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Chair.
Chairman, just
Congressman Paduano.
just to clarify things, because we're discussing some other names mentioned by members or colleagues, no, and members of this committee. While we have received already the official position from the Office of the Vice President and was signed by 7 persons, subject of subpoena at testificando.
Yes.
So Mr. Chairman, ganito na lang po because reading on the documents, no, that was as reply and an excuse from the Office of the Vice President signed by the 7 persons cited, issued by subpoena at testificando, certain Attorney Lopez, at Lemuel Ortonio, Attorney Sanchez, Julieta Villaderley, Gina Acosta, and spouses Sunshine and Edward Farda. Now, Mr. Chairman, while question of being absent in this hearing was already discussed and answered by this honorable committee, unless otherwise, some of the members will discuss it once again with regards to question of sub judice, question of jurisdictional issue, and the right to decline the invitation. But one thing is important, Mr. Chairman, that they invoke the question of the 3D rule, which is our internal rules. So, Mr. Chairman, now to be safe, for this committee to be safe, may I respectfully move na lang, Mr. Chairman, to once again issue subpoena ad testificandum to all those mentioned name. No? To all those mentioned name and what's issued previously a subpoena ad testificandum to be present in the next hearing, Mr. Chairman. So move, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Deputy Speaker Suarez.
Second.
Well, actually,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
before,
Congressman
with the
Paduano.
indulgence of the members and the good chairman, Mr. Chairman, to expedite discussion with regards to the question, matters at hand, may I just respectfully submit, Mr. Chairman, my official position with regards to the position or reply by the Office of the Vice President, just to expedite discussion, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, I will just submit my position with regards to sub judice, with regards to question of the trade rule, and the four reasons why those 7 OVP officials are not present in this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair,
Yes, Congressman Abante.
according to the committee secretary, these people
At this difficult.
have been invited 4 times, but they failed to attend. As I am, I'm so glad for the kindness of Congressman Paduano in inviting them again for the 5th time. Now, Mr. Chair, if they will not come for the 5th time, then I might make a motion to hold them in contempt. Because this is the 4th time. This is unfair to these people here who have attended every time that they are called upon. And then we're just going to do nothing about these people here who have been invited 4 times. It's unfair for us too that we are here in this hearing, and these people are kept on insulting us, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Congressman Paduano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the manifestation made by the Honorable Vice Chair Abante with regards to the issuance of subpoena at testificandum, let's go to the bridge. I think, Mr. Chairman, let's go to the bridge when we have the next hearing. No? Tingnan po natin. But of course, we will just comply with our internal rules with regards to the trade rule. But question of due process with regards to invitation, Mr. Chairman, that is very clear that we have invited them for the 4 invitations. So I really join the sentiment of Vice Chair Abante, but as of now we cannot discuss about it since we have to comply with our internal rule. These are the trade rules, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, before I make my ruling, I would just like to make a short manifestation. I totally in agreement with the manifestation of Congressman Abante. And in fact, the fact that all the other resource persons are present in today's hearing, bakit naman po sila naka-attend? Yung iba hindi maka-attend. But of course, para po mawala na lang po yung mga agam-agam, and also to just like what Congressman Paduano said, to accommodate and in view of our 3-day rule, we will just reissue another subpoena with the stern warning that the next time that they fail to attend, we will be constrained to issue a much heavier penalty. Considering that there is a motion which was duly seconded by Congressman with Deputy Speaker Suarez, is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Deputy Speaker Suarez.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick manifestation. Unang-una ho ay pinapangalawahan ko po yung posisyon ni Congressman Abante patungkol po sa mga taong iniimbitahan ng committee ito upang magbigay ng impormasyon, magpapaliwanag sa mga usapin na pinag-uusapan natin. Kung hindi po ako nagkakamali, Mr. Chairman, pang-4 na hearing na po natin ito. Tama po ba ako? This is our fourth hearing. I'm sure a great number of the Filipino people know what we're talking about. I'm sure the Office of the Vice President know what we're talking about. I'm sure the officials of the DepEd know what we're talking about. And being public servants, whether you're elected or you're appointed, it is part of your duty to make sure that you exercise transparency and accountability in the exercise of your duties and functions. Now, as an appointed official, having that oath that you have taken, pag meron pong mga patawag na ginagawa, ang Kongreso, maging ang Senado at ang mababang kapulungan, obligado pong umattend sila dahil napakahalaga po ng kanilang ibabahagi sa ating mga pinag-uusapan. So, alam ko naman po ay nakikinig yung mga iniimbitahan natin na ayaw sumipot. Pakiusap ko lang po sa kanila para naman matapos na po ito at makapagpatuloy na po tayo sa ilang bahagi. Ang habol lang naman po natin dito ay katotohanan, pagpapaliwanag lang kung paano ba ginastos yung pera. Hindi naman siguro masyadong mahirap ipaliwanag kung tama naman po ang paggastos ng pera. So, sinususugan ko po yung posisyon ni Congressman Paduano na pagbigyan natin muli ng, sige, isa pang pakiusap. Tulad na lang ng ginawa natin ng budget hearing, pinagbigyan na naman natin ng isa pang pagkakataon para humarap sa plenary. Kasi lang sana naman po, mahalaga po yung oras ng mga taong pumupunta dito. Ako po ay nakikisa sa pasasalamat sa inyong lahat. Dahil alam ko naman po ay inaabot po tayo minsan dito ng 8-10 oras sa pandinig. But you give time. You open up your schedule because you know the importance and the significance of these hearings. So again, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to manifest that I am very disappointed with the position of our invited guests for the fourth time not attending our hearing. And I do hope that when we do issue the subpoena tomorrow, we can take our proper action. Now, my question, Mr. Chair, is what other legal remedy does the committee possess insofar as to secure, number one, if our resource persons are still in the Philippines? Number two, to avoid flight? Number three, to ensure that their presence will be here in the following hearing.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Congressman Abante.
in relation to the question of my good friend Congressman J.J. Suarez, nakalagay po dito sa pinadala sa atin na information that only Zuleika Lopez departed on November 4. Emmanuel Gonzaga Ortoño arrived November 20. Rosalyn Ladores Sanchez arrived May 21. Juliet Villadel del Rey arrived October 5. Edward Fajarda and Sunshine Chari Fajarda arrived June 25. Now, wala pa naman po naka-report na umalis sila uli. Sa palagay ko po, hindi lang talaga, I just would like to manifest, Mr. Chair, na napakabait po ng Committee on Good Government for giving them the chance for the 5th time to attend. Sana naman po ay hindi na kami ipahiya dito sapagkat para bang naramdaman ko na umiiwas sila na tanungin kung paano ginamit ang pondo ng ating pamahalaan na dapat nilang linawin sa committee ito sapagkat tayo po ang binigyan ng mandato ng konstitusyon upang ating pusisiin ang pondo na ginagamit ng bawat ahensya ng gobyerno, Mr. Chair. Kaya sa akin po, nakaka-disappoint sapagkat dapat ipaliwanag hindi lamang sa ating komite, dapat ipaliwanag sa taong bayan kung paano ba ginamit ang pondo ng taong bayan, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat.
Mr.
Maybe
Chair.
we can,
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
yes, Congressman Sia.
Just like to inquire, since we are on the subject of issuing subpoena at this testificandum to certain individuals, may also inquire from our COMSEC, have we also sent invitation to Mr. Kelvin Jerome Tenido and Maria Edelyn Rabago? These are, I believe, career officers in the office of the Vice President. Have we sent them invitation in the previous committee hearings?
Your Honors, in the previous committee hearings, Mr. Kelvin Jerome Tenido was invited. Ms. Rabago was first-time invitee,
Okay.
Your Honor. Your Honor, may I proceed with recognizing some members first, Your Honor?
Yes, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
Honorable Franz Pomarian, Deputy Majority Leader from the 3rd District of Quezon City, is present, Your Honor, as well as Honorable Ed Christopher Esco, Deputy Majority Leader, 2nd District of Isabela, Your Honor.
Yeah, so how many times did they refuse to appear before this committee hearings?
For Mr. Kelvin Jerome Tenido, Your Honor, this is the second time. For Ms. Rabago, this is the first time, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Chair, I'd like to ask, Mr. Chair, how many times would the committee allow for certain invitees not to appear in the committee hearings before we can issue a subpoena for them to be mandated and obligated to appear before this committee hearings?
Your Honor, under the rules on inquiries, witnesses, resource persons, and guests are allowed to unjustified absences, Your Honor.
Have they sent us justification or a reason for their not attending in the previous committee hearing? Did we receive any excuse letter from them?
No excuse letters, Your Honor. Only position papers refusing to attend, Your Honor, based on the points raised in the current position paper that we have. It has been reiterated from day one of the other members or of officials of the Office of the Vice President, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, COMSEC. I'd like to reiterate again the manifestation of Deputy Speaker J.J. Suarez that we have been very lenient to these individuals. So if we have not received any justification of excuse letter for them not to attend before this committee, and I believe these individuals that I've mentioned have already been received invitation in the previous committee hearings, perhaps we can also, I would suggest to the committee that we can also include them, issue them a subpoena at testificandum so that they may be required to appear before this committee hearings, because I believe their testimonies would be material for this committee to arrive in a sound judgment once we file our committee report. Para po Mr. Chair, again, I would submit to the committee whether or not these individuals would also be included in the subpoena testificandum that we will be issuing in probably tomorrow, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, that's but if not, if I would subscribe to the decision of this committee to the chairman, since being that they have already refused to attend. This is the second time, no? The third time na, no? COMSEC? The second time.
Chairman.
Is there any motion?
Well, Mr. Chair, if given the I would move that these individuals be included in the subpoena that we will be issuing, Mr. Chair. This committee will be
Is
issuing.
there any second to the motion? Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
Mr. Chair.
COMSEC, please
Thank you very
include
much, Mr.
the names Kelvin Tenido and Edelyn Rabago to the subpoena at testificandum.
Noted, Your Honors. May I please continue with the update for the resource persons, Your Honor?
Yes, please could you please also update this committee if the lookout bulletin that we requested to the Bureau of, to the DOJ has already been released?
Yes, Your Honors. In coordination with the Bureau of Immigration who were invited today, Your Honor, however, they are unable to attend. Nevertheless, they sent to us the latest travel records of the person subject of the subpoena at testificandum, which has been distributed to Your Honors. As to the ILB or Immigration Lookout Bulletin Order, I was updated by Attorney Vicente Ongcad of the Bureau of Immigration that they have not yet received an ILBO. However, it per news reports, the request is already with the SOJ and is awaiting for his signature, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Abante?
perhaps it would also be better for us to invite Attorney Vicente Uncat to give us the information about these people that we have invited on their travels, Mr. Chair.
Please take note of the manifestation of Congressman Ungkat, Comsec.
Noted, Your Honors. It was actually Attorney Vicente Ongcad who signed the information, the travel records, Your Honor, in your hand. However, he is engaged right now. That's why, in an equally important matter, nevertheless, he sent this document, Your Honor, and he will be invited again in the next hearing, Your Honor.
Lahat po ba itong subject ng ating subpoena ay nasa Pilipinas pa o meron ano yung mga travel record nila?
Your Honor, per coordination or in coordination with Attorney Ongcad, all the 7 of whom we have requested travel records, only 1 left the country last night per information received. Attorney Zulaika T. Lopez entered the immigration gates of the airport last night at 7:31 p.m. Aboard flight PR 102 Manila to Los Angeles. The rest are still in the Philippines. However, for Ms. Gina F. Acosta, considering that she has multiple namesakes, the Bureau of Immigration is unable to provide information as to her latest travel records, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Abante.
what do you mean multiple namesakes? Ibig sabihin si Gina Acosta has a lot of aliases?
Your Honor, she may have had many kaparehong pangalan, Your Honor. Gina F. Acosta,
kaparehong
yes.
pangalan.
Opo.
Oo.
Hence, the Bureau of Immigration requested for birthplace or any other distinguishing detail to be provided in order to obtain specific records for Ms. Gina F. Acosta of the OVP.
Mr. Chair, mukhang maraming pera itong mga to dahil nagta-travel palagi. You know? Kaya uulitin ko po, uulitin ko, Mr. Chair, sapagkat medyo alam nyo, hindi rin nakakatuwa na makita na 4 na beses nang inimbitahan to. Samantalang nakalagay sa rules natin, 2 beses lang eh. And then afterwards, you could be able to issue a contempt order. No? Pero ito pang-4 na kayong hindi naka-attend, pang-5 ng imbitasyon to. So nakikita nyo ang kabaitan ng Committee on Good Government na pinapangunahan ni Congressman Joel Chua. So nais kong sabihin ulit, itong si Zuleika Lopez, Manuel Gonzaga Ortoño, Rosalyn Ladores Sanchez, Gina Acosta, Julieta Villa del Rey, Edward Fajarda, Sunshine Chari Fajarda, huwag nyo naman kami nga hamunin ang committee ito na mag-issue na kami ng contempt order sa inyo. Sana mag-attend na kayo. Ngayon pong inibitahan kayo ng pang-5 beses. Sapagkat alam ko naman, Mr. Chair, nakikinig itong mga taong ito eh. Hindi naman sila ignorante sa hearing na ito. Nakikinig po sila dito. At kung narinig niyo po kami, nananawagan po kami sa inyo. Mag-attend na kayo sa next hearing po natin. At inyo natanggapin ang aming pagiging mabait sa inyo so far, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Congressman Alonto.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just a quick manifestation as well, just to re-echo the sentiment of our colleagues here, Chairman Abante. Mr. Chair, I noticed also the position paper that was sent to us by these resource persons that we have invited, that they have cited the Calida versus Trillanes case as ruled by the Supreme Court. Mr. Chair, there's no portion in that ruling of the Supreme Court where it says that the invitation of a certain individual may not appear in the committee proceedings. It merely imparts there in the ruling, Mr. Chair, that particular ruling by the Supreme Court, imparted that the Congress must, again, be conscious about the rights of the invited persons. Hindi ho na sinasabi doon na may right na hindi pumunta. Wala pong doon sa ruling na yon, kasi yung pong in-invoke nila na ruling na yon sa kanilang response sa ating komite, na wala pong sinasabi doon sa ruling na yon na wag silang pumunta. In fact, ang sinasabi lang po doon ay nire-remind at sinasabi sa Congress na maging conscious tayo sa rights ng mga invited persons. In fact, Mr. Chair, refusal to attend a committee hearing, Mr. Chair, constitute a violation under the revised penal code dun po sa Article 150 na ang penalty nito ay aresto mayor. In fact, we are being given and recognized by the Supreme Court that we have the mandate to, as part of our oversight functions, to really invite these persons and know exactly what, the issues at hand, yung expenditure ng public expenses. So I think alam nila yan kasi they have invoked this ruling by the Supreme Court and they have cited this ruling. I'm sure they have also consulted the lawyers. Kung if they keep on refusing attending these committee hearings, alam po ng mga abogado nila yan na in fact it's under po dun sa revised penal code article number 150, talagang meron pong penalty dyan sa refusal dun sa mga invitation ng mga proper na binigyan ng mandato ng Constitution na mag-investigate at mag-inquire at mag-hold ng mga committee hearings such as what we're doing right now. So just to add context to the manifestation of Congressman Chairman Benny Abante po, na dapat po alam po nila yan because they have to consult their lawyers and they must appear before this committee hearing, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Congressman Manuel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, in connection din doon, dahil more than one time sinight sa position paper ng mga opisyal ng Office of the Vice President yung Calida versus Trillanes noong 2019. Mr. Chair, it is very disappointing for public officials representing the second highest office sa bansa natin na cherry pick ang mga desisyon ng Supreme Court. Mr. Chair, in addition sa nabanggit ng colleague natin, kaya naman tayo umabot sa subpoena at testificandum at hindi na lamang simpleng imbitasyon kasi yung mga input na gusto nating makuha mula sa mga opisyal na pangalanan ay crucial na mga impormasyon at hindi na lamang optional or add-on na mga impormasyon in line with the topics of our investigation or inquiry. Tsaka Mr. Chair, hindi nila sinight na actually yung petisyon nung nag-file versus kung sino yung dapat sumagot. Mr. Chair, this Supreme Court petition was actually dismissed. Ibig sabihin, nag-favor yung Supreme Court doon sa kapangyarihan ng legislative bodies na mag-conduct talaga ng mga investigations in line with the legislation. Lalo na yung national budget ay isa yan sa pinagdedebatihan talaga ng mga batas dito sa ating bansa. And Mr. Chair, sa position paper kasi ang dami talagang palusot pero hindi pa maayos yung mga palusot na binibigay at actually lalo lang na ina-undermine at hindi nire-respeto yung trabaho ng mga mambabatas in a question na hindi ito in either legislation, wala daw jurisdiction yung committee, nasa Supreme Court na daw. Pero then again, maging yung Supreme Court, kinikilala nga yung ating responsibilidad. Kasi we owe it to the people na talakayin yung ganito mga topic, lalo na pera ng bayan nyo nakataya. And also, Mr. Chair, yung dinahilan din kasi daw natanggap yung letter, holiday, tapos may weekend pa, kaya late daw nabasa. Mr. Chair, we would like to remind these officials na dahil mga public official tayo, hindi dapat basta-basta ginagamit yung holiday or weekend bilang dahilan para i-neglect yung ating duty. Kasi tayo have a standard, sapat yung minimum 3 calendar days for us to issue notices kapag magkakahiring tayo. So yun lang gusto nating reiterate, Mr. Chair, in support din sa mga nabanggit dahil sobra na itong actually, nasa extent na rin po ng pagbabastos na sa mandato ng committee natin to conduct this investigation. Yun lang, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Congressman Abante.
tayo po nagpapasalamat kay Atty. Powa na yung ating pag-imbita sa kanya, palagi siya nandirito, no? At the fact that he worked as a spokesman of the Vice President before. Gusto ko lang tanungin sa kanya, kilala niya yung mga taon to. Ito pa talaga mga ugali nito mga taon to? Talagay mo, Tony Chua. Ito pa talaga ugali ng mga taong ito?
Mr. Chair, Yes, Your Honor, and
Attorney Powa, you recognize.
I hope you would forgive me, but I cannot comment po on that. Uh, sorry po.
Well, I'm just so glad, Mr. Chair, that Attorney Powa do not have this kind of an attitude also. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Mr. Chair.
Congressman Luistro.
Mr. Chair, to complete the arguments, our answer to the arguments which were raised by the OVP in their position paper, I wish to share the rules and the jurisprudence which were cited with respect to the argument on sub judice rule. Isa po sa mga dahilan na ginagamit ng OVP why they refuse to attend our inquiry in aid of legislation is the rule on sub judice. By this, we are prevented from making any comment or disclosures pertaining to judicial proceeding which may directly or indirectly impede, obstruct, or degrade the administration of justice. In Filipino, Mr. Chair, kapag ang subject matter is already pending in court, generally, we are precluded from making any comment. However, Mr. Chair, maliwanag po ang parameters when the sub judice rule may apply. And I wish to share, number 1, under Section 1 of the Rules on Inquiry in Aid of Legislation, the filing or pendency of a case before any court, tribunal, or quasi-judicial or administrative body shall not stop or abate any inquiry conducted to carry out a legislative process. Number 2, Mr. Chair, there is no pending court case or administrative appeal that involves the same subject matter of this hearing. I understand that there are pending petitions before the Supreme Court, but let us acknowledge that the subject matter of those petitions is the constitutionality of the grant of confidential fund to executive offices like the OVP and the DepEd. Whereas the subject matter of this investigation, Mr. Chair, is the utilization of the confidential fund. These are two different matters, Mr. Chair. And third, Mr. Chair, let us be aware of the jurisprudence on the case of Romero II versus Estrada. This is GR number 174105, promulgated on April 2, 2009, which essentially states ongoing judicial proceedings cannot preclude or hinder congressional hearings in aid of legislation. In this case, it was held that the mere filing of a criminal or an administrative complaint before a court should not automatically bar the conduct of legislative investigation. Otherwise, Mr. Chair, it would be extremely easy to subvert any intended inquiry by Congress through the convenient ploy of instituting a criminal or an administrative complaint. Surely, the exercise of sovereign legislative authority, of which the power of legislative inquiry is an essential component, cannot be made subordinate to a criminal or administrative investigation. In conclusion, Mr. Chair, there is no leg to stand on where the OVP can raise the rule on sub judice. I submit, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Congresswoman Luistro. Meron pa pong gusto mag-comment? Yes, Congressman Defensor, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to put to rest once and for all the issue of whether this is in aid of legislation. This is clearly in aid of legislation because ang pera na ginamit ng OVP at ng DepEd is funded and forms part of the single most important legislation passed by Congress every year, and that is the annual budget or the General Appropriations Act. Walang pwedeng magsabi na ang pondo na binibigay sa mga ahensya ng gobyerno kapag iniimbestigahan ng committee ito is not part of in aid of legislation because we legislate the funds that we give to all agencies and instrumentalities of government. And it is for us to determine through our oversight and this committee whether we will fund it again, whether we will repeal it, or whether we will not no longer fund these programs through these confidential and intelligence funds. So I hope that is clear to every Filipino na in aid of legislation ito kasi part ito ng annual budget or General Appropriations Act taon-taon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Congressman Abante.
I fully agree with Congresswoman Luistro and Congressman Defensor on what they've said. Ito po ay pinapanood ng taong bayan na kinakailangan maunawaan po nila na itong pondong ito, whether confidential po ito o hindi, nagastos na po ito. Hindi pa ito gagastusin, nagastos na ho ito Ang nais nating malaman kung paano ito nagastos. Tungkulin po natin yan sa committee ito na alamin upang malaman po ng taong bayan na yung paggastos po ng pondo na nanggaling sa mga taxpayers ay tama at naaayon sa mandato na ibinigay sa office ng pangalawang Pangulo. Kaya nga po iniimbitahan natin itong mga taong ito na nakakaalam ng mga pondong ito. Ako naman po medyo naaawa na rin sa ating members ng COA na naririndi na sa mga katanungan natin. Talagang dapat pumunta na po ito. Kaya gusto ko rin i-air ang warning na ito muli. Pag hindi pa sila nagpunta sa panglimang pagkakataon, ako na po ay magmo-motion to issue a contempt order on them. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
Your Honor.
Congressman Abante.
May I be recognized?
Yes, Comsec, you're recognized.
Thank you, Your Honor. We recognize the presence of Honorable Ernesto M. Jonicio Jr., Member, 1st District of the City of Manila, as well as Honorable Jonathan Keith T. Flores, 2nd District of Bukidnon. Your Honor, present as well today are representatives from the Land Bank of the Philippines, AVP Nanita Camposano of the DOTC branch. Ma'am, may you please raise your hand? Present, Your Honor. DM Joyce L. Eclavea, DepEd branch. And Attorney Rafael Christopher L. Yap, Special Legal Concerns Department. Present, Your Honor. That's it.
Nakapag-take na po ba sila ng oath?
No, Your Honor, they are new invitees, Your Honor.
Yes, pwede po bang paki-administer yung oath, Comsec?
From the representatives of the Land Bank, kindly stand up. Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this inquiry? So help you God. Thank you, Your Honor. The oath has been administered.
Thank you. We will now proceed to our next item in the agenda, the continuation of the deliberation. We will first call on the first interpellator, the Honorable Congressman Rog Gutierrez. Yes, you are first to interpolate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yung mga gusto pong for a while, Congressman, yung mga gusto pa pong Congressman na magpalista lang po, lumapit lang po kay Comsec. Thank you po. Please continue, Congressman Rog.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just have a few questions based on the years we've done. Given that this is already our 4th hearing, I'm sure COA is very much used to our questioning, and I hope they could indulge us some more. Actually, Mr. Chair, yung aking mga katanungan is supposedly directed to the Special Disbursement Officer of the OVP, because under my understanding, based on the joint memo, this would have been SDO Acosta's responsibility, because under number 6.3.2, Section B, it is part of the Special Disbursing Officer's responsibility to maintain separate records of all transactions and to retain a certified copy or duplicate copy of the required supporting documents and reports on utilization. However, and my questioning is precisely on this, on the acknowledgement receipts attached as justification, yung documentary evidence presented. However, given that the SDO Acosta is not around, I guess we'll be forced to at least to get this, some of the answers, I'll be forced to ask the COA. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to direct my questions perhaps to the Attorney Camora from the ICFAO, if they would be so kind to indulge. Just as to add context po, no, Attorney Camora. We know po that the confidential funds are special in the sense that they respond to, they pertain to a certain purpose only allowable under the Joint Memo Circular. But this does not mean that this is a blank check po, no? It's not a blanket authority that it could be spent without justification. Would that be a fair statement po?
Attorney Camora, you're recognized.
That is correct po, Your Chair.
So,
Mr. Chair.
in line with that and in line with the requirements of the COA, you would ask actually for liquidation reports. Although it's special in the sense that it is directed only to the chairman of the COA, you still have the ICFAO to study this. And in fact, it is the ICFAO who gives the AOMs the notice of disallowance and the notice of credit in relation to confidential fund spending. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. Chair, given the, maybe no, I have a timeline again of the 2022 confidential fund usage of the OVP. If I understand correctly, it was dispersed within 11 days. This was for December of 2022, and the basis of the funds was a transfer from the contingent fund. But there was an AOM issued by your office. Anong date po nito?
Mr. Chair, the first AOM is dated September 14, 2023.
So for the 2022 confidential funds, September 2023 yung AOM. And the response by the Office of the Vice President was received around what time po kaya?
It was received by the ICFAO on October 19, 2023, Mr. Chair.
October 2023. And one of the findings there was insufficient the DEPs po, no? And this would be pertaining to, in support of the liquidation reports, yung ating mga acknowledgement receipts. Because compared to usual spending by government wherein we actually need official receipts, kapag ang pinag-uusapan po ay confidential or intelligence funds, because precisely confidential dapat yung usage nito, it is sufficient to submit acknowledgement receipts. Tama po ba?
Mr. Chair, since the requirement is documentary evidence of payment, not necessarily official receipt.
Correct.
So they could submit acknowledgement
Attorney Camora,
receipts.
pwede pong pakilakasan po ninyo yung boses ninyo.
Documentary evidence of payment po ang required sa joint circular. So the acknowledgement receipts are acceptable po.
Correct po, no? And I agree with that. So the acknowledgement receipts are acceptable. However, one of the findings of the AOM was kulang nga po yung DEPs. And this is pertaining to the acknowledgement receipts.
The first time na nag-liquidate po sila, wala pa talagang submitted na DEPs.
Opo. So that's why you had the AOMs in September 2023. Part of the findings was the lack of the DEPs, precisely yung mga ARs natin. And then they answered in October 2023. When they filed in October 2023, was it already there, yung DEPs? Yung justification po nila?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it was part of their compliance.
So it was submitted October 2023. After that, there was a notice of disallowance pertaining to that quarter. Kailan po ito na-issue?
Mr. Chair, before that, a notice of suspension was issued. So normally, after the AOM is issued and the COA is not satisfied with the compliance, we issue a notice of suspension, which was issued on December 13, 2023.
December 2023. And the notice of suspension you mentioned is when the COA is not satisfied. So yung pagsubmit po ng October 2023 DEPs, hindi pa po satisfied yung COA. And what was the reason that you're not satisfied? Mali-mali po ba yung mga AR or kulang pa po yung mga AR?
May mga ibang ARs po na may issues and may kulang pa po na additional documentation on other ARs.
And when after the notice of suspension for December 2023, they were given another chance to submit additional documents. Is that correct? Or wala na po?
Meron pa, Mr. Chair. They were given 90 days.
90 days.
To,
When did they apologies. When did they submit their additional DEPs po? in response to the notice of suspension?
Mr. Chair, we received their compliance on March 13, 2024.
March 2024. And finally, I suppose after this, ito na po yung disallowance.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Anong date pa ng disallowance pa natin?
That disallowance is dated August 8, 2024, Mr. Chair.
August 2024. Thank you. I'll get back to that po. No? I wanted to establish a timeline because one of the things that we have found with the acknowledgement receipts is that there seemed to be a disconnect in regarding relation to the dates, especially considering the fourth quarter of 2022 CF. Mr. Chair, maybe ask the Secretariat, I don't know if they prepared it. I want to flash on screen an acknowledgement receipt. Here. Is the date legible po sa inyo? Can you see? I'd like to confirm that the date that it says is actually December 28, 2023. Do you see that, Attorney Camora?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And supposedly this was attached. I'm not sure if this would come in for the first batch of response in December 2023 or if it came in with the second batch of response on March 2024. But this is supposedly a DEP presented for the fourth quarter of 2022. Isn't it strange? Not really strange, it's outright false for it to justify an expense in 2022, but the date is 2023. Would that be correct, Ms. Camora? Attorney Camora?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Actually, one of the findings under the notice of suspension is that some of the acknowledgement receipts were dated December 2023 and some were even undated.
Yes. And this would be the basis for disallowance? Or was this, this was the findings of the AOM po, no?
Yes, that is under the notice of suspension na po, Mr. Chair. Since nakapag-comply na sila, so yung observation namin was already under the notice of suspension po.
How would it be complied po, Attorney Camora? How did they rectify the AR if it, my understanding po is pag submitted po yung AR, this is already supposedly presumed to be regular, and then you have an outright problem such as 2023. Although you might say na typographical error, but correct me if I'm wrong, this happens more than once po. Is that correct, Attorney Camora?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Would you know how many ARs exactly yung dated 2023 submitted for 2022?
Mr. Chair, we have attached it in the original notice of suspension. However, we do not have the figures today.
Sige po. Well, just to help you po, no, based on our study, 158 of the acknowledgement receipts have that typographical error. We would understand the typographical error if it happens once or twice, and at most for one individual to make that mistake multiple times. But for supposedly acknowledgement receipts which come from different sources, this should be different people issuing it po, diba? These are different people signing off for different expenses. Now, for 158 people to make the same mistake, is that something that would be acceptable? Is that an acceptable margin of error for the COA?
Mr. Chair, they answered in their compliance. As to the
Mr. Chair, apologies. Maybe what does it mean to answer with the compliance? So they took back yung AR na mali po yung date, or
no, Mr. Chair, yung compliance nila contained their answers why they had the acknowledgement receipts dated December 2023 and undated acknowledgement receipts.
And what was the answer po, Attorney Camora?
They said they have inadvertently contained clerical or typographical errors indicating 2023 instead of 2022. Considering the nature of confidential activities which are usually conducted discreetly and completed within a short period of time, and in addition to the lack of attention to details of personnel attending to voluminous papers from several individuals, some data and acknowledgement receipts submitted as proof of transactions may have been missed.
Mr. Chair, apologies. I think that portion would suffice po, Attorney Camora. No? So the answer of compliance, they did not dispute, they did not take back the ARs, but they simply gave that defense that it was an inadvertence, or basically typo nga po siya. But precisely the point, Mr. Chair, that I think that the committee should consider is that it's a typographical error for 158 acknowledgement receipts. This is not something that I think, although we do not argue with the COA, of course, this is their jurisdiction. It is precisely their decision if that compliance would be sufficient. However, I think for us to consider in strengthening the laws that we are going to craft, in support perhaps of the joint memorandum circular, I think we have to be stricter with the acknowledged receipts to be issued. Because, Mr. Chair, I would like to propose one thing. Of course, the COA will not be able to answer this. But given the timeline po, no, September 2023 yung first na AOM, the October 2023 was the compliance with the first batch of ARs, and then December 2023, the notice of suspension. And that was the time siguro po, no, that they were coming up with these new ARs. It would make more sense, Mr. Chair, for them to make that mistake. Because when pag nagkaka-typographical error po natin sa date, the usual mistake is you put on the date that is current. Isn't it possible, Mr. Chair, based on human experience, isn't it more likely that these ARs were prepared a year after the fact already? That they were prepared in December 2023, because this precisely coincides with the date in which they submitted the second batch of the ARs. I don't think, Mr. Chair, this was a mistake that was committed in December 2022. This was a mistake that was committed after the fact, after the AOM and after the notice of suspension, when they were rushing to comply with yung mga butas po na lahat ng COA. I think this is something that the committee should consider. Especially when it comes to the compliance with the COA. We are not faulting the COA, of course, and we respect them. This is their jurisdiction. But one thing that we understand, that we see from the COA, is that generally, they are not really ministerial, but they would err on the side of caution rather than put themselves in the place to, exercise discretion regarding the disbursements by any agency. Sa kanila po, as long as complied yung DEP and as long as there's an explanation, they would accept it. However, I think the COA has to go above and beyond that requirement. Because, Mr. Chair, just to highlight also how spurious this seems and how bogus. If December 2022 po yung date dapat ng AR, tapos December 2023 yung date, it wouldn't even correspond to any confidential funds. It's not possible if ever the reasoning was nagkapalitan ng AR, because I understand that might be one of the excuses for inadvertence. Baka nagkapalitan yung AR for December 23 and December 2022. Pero wala pong December 2023. If we recall, the fourth quarter of the confidential funds for the Office of the OVP was never dispersed. They chose, although it was already included in the our General Appropriations Act, they chose not to disperse yung fourth quarter. So saan po na ilalagay itong December 2023 AR if, in fact, they would say inadvertence, nagkapalitan yan? Or if they say typographical error naman, it wouldn't make sense. What's that doing in December 2022? 158 times po nangyari. More likely, this was the same mistake committed by perhaps a few persons, which raises the question, are these acknowledgement receipts spurious? Are they bogus? Are they false? In addition to that, Mr. Chair, I'd like to present another acknowledgement receipt. If the Secretary could please flash yung November 1 po.
Kung Rog, ito ko lang linawin. 158 times na ang date ay 2023.
Mr. Chair, based on what our office has found, 158 of the ARs corresponding to 23.8 million were submitted for the for the fourth quarter of 2022 disbursement, but they were citing 2023. Ang sabi nga po ng COA na ang citing the answer of the OVP is that inadvertence po.
Ang dami naman pagkakamali nun. Kung magkakamali ka, dapat isa lang. Sa 2023, last quarter, wala na silang confidential funds. So para lumagpas yung kanilang liquidation. Sobra-sobra yung liquidation na nilabas nila. Tama po ba yung pagkakaintindi ko sa sinasabi ninyo?
Well, Mr. Chair, your guess is the same as ours, but it could also be na these are ARs belatedly prepared.
Okay. Sige po. Thank you po. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So proceeding onward, maybe ask the Secretary to flash yung November 2020, November 17, 2023 AR. Yun. Thank you. Attorney Camora, is it legible po? Can you see that the date is November 27, sorry, 2023. No, 2022.
November, I cannot see it. November 17?
November 27 po, 2020.
27.
Well, Attorney Commerce, apologies, perhaps di lang kita masyado sa screen, but on paper nakita po na November 27, 2022 po siya. If my understanding is correct, the AR should correspond to the period of the confidential funds actually dispersed and used. Tama po ba? So although it is for the fourth quarter of 2022, this was submitted as an AR there, it should correspond to the 11 days of disbursement po that they actually had. Because if I understand correctly, anong date nga po yung first, yung pag-issue nung check for the OVP confidential funds?
December 20, 2022, Mr. Chair.
December 20, 2022. So definitely, this is after November 27, 2022. Would the COA have? Of course, I would not fault COA for this. This is supposedly a question for the Special Disbursing Officer, si SDO Acosta. But given that she's not here, I am constrained to ask the COA. Para saan po kaya would this be considered? Because if we also consider, baka sabihin naman natin na typographical error, baka dapat November 2023 po ito, wala rin pong fourth quarter confidential funds ang OVP for 2023. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
So in that case, how would the COA appreciate this acknowledgement receipt?
Normally, Mr. Chair, it should be noted that confidential funds should not be used as payment for reimbursement of previous activities. So it would have been flagged as a reimbursement expense, so not allowed.
So this would have been disallowed totally. And perhaps there's a good chance that this is part of the disallowance actually of your. But I think, Mr. Chair, what is striking for this committee is, of course, the COA has already acted on the disallowance. But what should be considered is the fact that this could not have happened. I mean, reimbursement might be one explanation, but how could you reimburse something that this was even the first batch of confidential funds? December 21 po ba? Tama ba? December 21?
December 20, Mr. Chair, yung date ng check.
December 20 po yung check. This is the first confidential funds ever issued to the OVP for this administration. Yet they have acknowledged receipts for November 27, 2022. Ibig sabihin po, wala pa pong confidential funds. They're already coming up with their acknowledgement receipts.
Mr. Chair, with the indulgence of Congressman, may I just...
Congressman Abante.
Bago ko makalimutan to, no? Nakalagay dito, yung pakianong audit yung acknowledgement receipt dyan. Ito po ba ay allowed ng COA? Pag gumamit ka nung 150,000 na rewards, pakiano nga yung acknowledgement receipt, pakilagay nga uli. Ayan. Allowed po ba ng COA yan? Yung payment of rewards nakalagay medicines. Allowed po ba ng COA yan?
Mr. Chair, that is one of the observations po.
So therefore, kung yan ang observation nyo, dinisallow nyo.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Part
Okay,
of the
so that
disallowance.
was actually 150,000 used for payment of rewards for medicines was disallowed by COA. Ganun po ba?
It is one of the disallowed accounts, Mr. Chair, yung payment of reward.
Ito, disallowed to, di ba?
Probably, sir, since kasama naman siya sa...
Attorney, but probably.
Yes, sir, since it is an acknowledgement receipt
Di ba?
of payment of rewards.
You're a good lawyer. You cannot just say probably. You have to be sure about it, di ba? So, di talagang disallowed to, di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
O yan. Sige, thank you.
Please continue, Congressman Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Congressman Abante. Basically, what we're trying to say here po, no, in relation to the dates, whether this is for reimbursement of, although illegal po, no, it's not supposed to be allowed. Whether this was a justification for reimbursement or this was inadvertence or typographical errors, despite being repeated over 158 times, these are clear red flags po in relation to the AR submitted by the office. This is something that we should consider. Looking forward, we should consider po this in aid of legislation, perhaps legislation to strengthen this joint circular to make sure that this doesn't appear again, or perhaps stringent penalties for when this is caught. But more important than that, we still have to hold them accountable po, no? For this, although this is already passed, although there's already notice of disallowance, accountability should be had for this. Now, in addition po, moving forward from these erroneous dates or inadvertent dates, I would like to present another documentary evidence. May we have po the Secretariat flash yung acknowledgement receipt for Mr. or Ms. NP. Yun. Attorney Camora, when we're talking of acknowledgement receipts, basically it's something like this one. It's very bare. It just has the amount received, for what purpose, and you have the name and the date. That's all that is required. However, when it comes to the name, is this usually the name of the person or signature or both?
They would give us normally yung name and signature, but actually the signature is which is more important to the COA. Since we know that unsigned documents are really not good documents. So kung signature lang, okay lang po siya, pero kung name lang po, we will flag it as unsigned document po.
And what is the reasoning for this? Because a name can be written by anyone, but a signature is supposedly unique. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So what happens when, for example, here, it may not be seen, it's redacted precisely because it's confidential. However, it could be noted that this name was written in block letters, which are not distinctive by any manner. Yet, this was what was submitted as an acknowledgement receipt. So in cases such as this, it's very possible that someone purporting to be Mr. NP is writing the name for NP. Would that be correct, Attorney Camora?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
So in this case, this would be another case of an irregular AR. Would that be correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And of course, when it comes to the ARs that are just block letters and names, because precisely it could be purporting to be that person, but signed by anyone else, this should be disallowed, Mr. Chair. But of course, as mentioned again by Attorney Camora, alam ko baka narinig din po kayo with all of these questions for the ICFA, which are all done that. But it just is an additional proof po that what we're looking at here are red flags when it comes to acknowledgement receipts. And I think we really should strengthen po siguro the DEPs that would be required for confidential funds. Kasi po, hindi po ito biro. And if you look at it precisely, we're talking about a single payment for 400,000 pesos as a reward payment, which could be anyone because hindi nga po signed. Kung sa mga signatures nga po, nagkakaduda tayo kung totoo yung signature. Paano pa kaya pag walang signature at all? How do we know that this person exists? These are some issues that we should consider po, Mr. Chair, when we're going to craft our legislation to strengthen po yung joint memorandum circular. Mr. Chair, I had other questions, but I think this could only be answered by SDO Acosta. So I would like to manifest that I would like to join po yung I have the same sentiments as Chairman Abante that these persons invited should appear. At least it would be our 5th hearing already, and still we have no answers. And I think it would the answers really rely on their attendance, and this is only for the accountability, for the truth that our people would see. So I think we should really have a harder stance for requiring their attendance. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would now defer and yield to our other colleagues here today. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you, COA.
Thank you, Congressman Rodriguez. The next interpellator is Congresswoman Pami Zamora.
Mr. Chair, good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chair, since wala naman yung mga invited guests natin from the OVP, I will not be raising any questions. Rather, I would just like to point out a very important manifestation, which I believe is very important
and vital for our proceedings, no? Kaunting backtrack lang po tayo. Over the past hearings, Mr. Chair, we've discussed the contents of the accomplishment reports, and I'm sure we all have copies of that, at kung sino ang naghahanda at pumipirma ng mga ito. And as we have confirmed, ang naghahanda at pumipirma ng mga ito ay yung SDO and yung head ng agency. Mr. Chair, allow me to point out what the certification attached to the accomplishment report means for the SDO and the Vice President herself as head of the agency. Meron ba yung slide natin para makita ng ating mga manonood? So, Mr. Chair, itong pinapakita natin ay part ng certification na naka-attach sa mga liquidation reports na na sinasubmit mismo ng SDO at ng ating Vice President. Okay? We have 4 copies from the period of December 21 to 31, 2022, from Feb 6 to March 29, 2023, from April 25 to June 2023, and from July 14 to September 14, 2023, all of which amount to 125 million. So, apat na 125 million po ito na sino-certify po nila, nakapirma po silang dalawa dyan, and may I emphasize on Section B. Expenses were incurred in connection with the agency's intelligence and or confidential operations and activities with supporting documents attached to the liquidation of confidential funds and for the intelligence funds, documentary evidence of payment kept in sealed envelope in the vault in the office of the SDO. This only means, Mr. Chair, that the signatories of these liquidation or accomplishment reports, which is a sworn document, certify na yung cash advances here amounting to 500 million pesos, representing the confidential funds, were used for the implementation of the OVP initiatives, and as COA has pointed out in the past hearings, they do not verify or determine whether the information in the DEPs, the amount, the signature, name in the receipt, the date sa receipt, are truths, lies, or are reasonable or unreasonable. The only persons who are able to verify kung totoo talaga ang mga acknowledgement receipts na ito, Mr. Chair, ay ang Office of the Vice President, particularly the head of the office, which is the Vice President herself, and the Special Disbursing Officer. With this, Mr. Chair, it's rather very evident that through the certification attached to these, nakikita natin dito, accomplishment reports, the ARs na kino-question kanina are impliedly verified by the Vice President herself and the SDO. Nevertheless, Mr. Chair, naniniwala po ang inyong lingkod na mahalaga na usisain pa rin natin at tingnan ang veracity ng mga acknowledgement receipts na pinresenta nila, and at the end of the day, na kahit ito po ay confidential or intelligence funds lamang, ito ay pondo pa rin po ng ating pamahalaan intended para sa ating mga kababayan. With this, Mr. Chair, I yield the floor to the next interpellator.
Do you have another ComSec? Sino pa yung sa? Congressman Jeb Kunghon, you recognize, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, ayon sa ating last hearing,
we have confirmed the following. The Office of the Vice President has requested for confidential funds for at least 2 years. The documents evidencing payment, or the DPEs, are required to be submitted to support the disbursement of confidential funds. The Commission on Audit relies mainly on DPEs, which is the case of OBP, or ARs. Napaka-importante po nito dahil napapatunayan kung saan at kung paano at kung sino ang tumatanggap ng mga payments na galing sa Office of the Vice President. The COA has confirmed that these documents are noted as submitted out of mere compliance, almost to the point of being ministerial. We have confirmed that these DEPs, despite its key roles in ensuring proper receipt of confidential funds and utilization as indicated in accomplishment reports, has been the documents submitted out of mere compliance, perhaps at the cost of its truth and accuracy. Mr. Chair, I would like to manifest that the purpose of this acknowledgement receipt, at least in theory, is to safeguard the use of confidential funds. Paano po natin may ipapakita through sa acknowledgement receipts kung ang tao na tumatanggap nito at kung saan ito napunta at ginagastos. Kahit confidential funds po ito, need po natin bantayan kung paano ito nagagastos at kung paano ito nagagamit. However, despite the intent, an examination of these acknowledgement receipts submitted in the liquidation of the OVP's confidential funds shows the alarming discrepancies and indications of irregularity. Meron pong pagdududa kung saan at paano ginamit ang confidential fund ng OVP. Mr. Chair, meron po ako ipapakita na acknowledgement receipt dated December 2022. Ito po yung documents in evidencing payment. Nakita po natin na walang nakalagay sa acknowledgement receipt na ito, walang nakalagay na date. Bakit po kaya walang date din na nakalagay dito? Naka-blank po yung date. So this acknowledgement receipt was included with ARs dated December 22 or part of the DEPs of 2022. Based on this acknowledgement receipt, it is the auditors were able to determine whether the money was actually issued in 2022. Napakahirap po patunayan kung talagang 2022 nga po ba ginastos o ginamit itong mga ARs na isinabmit ng Office of the Vice President dahil wala nga po itong date. Ano po ba yung nakapaloob sa acknowledgement receipt na ito? Wala rin po itong period covered. So, ano po ang dahilan kung bakit kailangan may nakalagay na period covered sa isang acknowledgement receipt na ito? Tingin ko po kailangan nating malaman para malaman din natin kung kailan at para saan ito ginamit. Kung wala po itong date, sa nakikita ninyo, medyo hindi katanggap-tanggap at talagang nakakapagduda kung saan at paano ginamit yung pera na nakalagay po sa acknowledgement receipt na ito. To illustrate to you, I will show you the acknowledgement receipt in the name of a certain AAS who appears 3 times in the acknowledgement receipt on hand. Nakita po natin na bali sa dokumentong isinabmit ng OVP na ipinapakita ko po ngayon, a certain AAS may tinanggap po siya na pera sa loob po ng 2 buwan. From December 2022 to February 2023, almost 210,000 ang tinanggap niya. But from December 2022 to July 2023, nakatanggap si AAS ng 300,000. Maring nakakapagtaka po kung paano at para saan ang ginamit na perang ito. Kasi ang nakalagay po dapat is purchase of information. To reiterate, magkaparehas lang ang purpose ng tatlong ARs. Kung magkaparehas lang, bakit may varying amount sa disbursement? So, napakarami pong katanungan na kailangan nilang sagutin yung mga taong hindi po nagpunta rito at yung mga tao po na iniimbitahan natin at sinasabpina natin. Hindi po ba nakakapagtaka kung bakit may iba't ibang amounts for the same purpose? Purchase of information, katulad ni AAS, tumanggap siya ng 60,000 noong December 2022, 150,000 noong February 2023, at 70,000 noong 2023. In another set of ARs, Mr. Chairman, may isa pang tao na by initials ay JOV, which received the confidential funds for three different purposes. For the payments of reward, medicine in December 2022, for the payment of supplies in 2023, and the provisions of medical and food aid in 2023. Nakatanggap si JOV ng 920,000 sa loob ng 5 buwan for three different purposes. Payment of reward of medicine, payment of supplies, and provision of medical and food aid. Ano ang total na natanggap ni JOV base tatlong ARs na ipinakita ko sa screen? Ito ay 920,000. Unlike AAS, ang pera na tinanggap ni JOV ay para sa tatlong separate purpose. Payment of rewards in medicine, payment of supplies, provision of medical and food aid. Marami pong mga katulad ni JOV na tumanggap ng confidential fund na galing sa Office of the Vice President. Nakapagtataka na may isang tao na tumanggap ng confidential fund na twice o thrice para sa iba't ibang purposes. Nakakapagtaka din kung saan ito nanggagaling. Ang galing-galing naman ng tao na yon, marami silang businesses na sobrang swak na kinakailangan ng Office of the Vice President. Or baka meron silang, baka pwede natin mas magandang katanungan, hindi ba kayo nagtataka kung bakit paulit-ulit ang pangalan? Halatang halata na parang ang Office of the Vice President ay naubusan na ng pangalan na ilalagay. Mr. Chair, please allow me to point out to a pattern that we found out in the documents evidencing payment for December of 2022. There is a very real possibility that the confidential fund were released in batches daily na parang routine na ito o robotic pa. Parang scripted ang pag-release ng mga pondong ito. Tignan po natin yung na ifa-flash po natin sa ating screen. This shows a pattern that occurs throughout the DEPs in December of 2022. Nakikita po natin na halos pare-parehas po ang amount na ito at talagang grabe po yung kanilang ginawa para sa reward medicine. Nagre-repeat po ito ng December 29 and December 30 and even occurs many more times during this period. Nakikita nyo rin po na never ninyo pinansin itong pattern kahit the same amount, same dates, and several times. Kaya hindi po ba nakakapagduda, lalong-lalo na po sa Commission on Audit, na paulit-ulit po na pare-parehas ang amount, pare-parehas ang nakalagay, lalong-lalo na sa kanilang mga DEPs. Mr. Chair, let us not forget that these confidential funds were spent all in 11 days. This pattern in releasing the confidential funds in batches show exactly how all the 125 million of confidential funds were fully spent. Mr. Chair, we have shown you the importance of the DEPs more than being a required document for the disbursement of confidential funds. And the DEPs, isa sa mga dokumento na dapat meron tayong integridad at dapat nating binabantayan dahil ito ang nagpapatunay sa maayos na paggamit ng confidential funds. How can the integrity of the receipt and the use of confidential fund be safeguarded be safeguarded pag walang maayos na mga nakalagay sa ating mga acknowledgement receipt or pag hindi nababasa ng maayos yung acknowledgement receipt. Mr. Chair, dapat po talaga na humarap na yung mga tao na ating sinusubpoena, na ating pinapatawag dito sa na naka-destino o naka-assign sa office ng Vice President. Sana po, Mr. Chair, wag na po nilang pagtakpan ang ating Vice President dahil nakikita naman po natin na marami po talagang irregularidad na nakikita, lalong-lalo na sa kung paano nila ginamit ang kanilang confidential fund ng Department of Education at saka ng Office of the Vice President. Huwag po nilang pagtakpan ang iisang tao lamang. Dapat po ang loyalty nila para po sa interest ng bansa, hindi po sa isang tao lamang. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The next interpellator is Congressman Akop.
Honor, may I be recognized?
Yes, with the indulgence of Congressman Akop, the COMSEC is recognized.
Your Honor, we would like to acknowledge the presence of Senior Deputy Speaker Aurelio Dong Gonzales Jr. from the 3rd District of Pampanga, Deputy Majority Leader Alfred C. De Los Santos from Ang Provinciano Party List, and Congresswoman Micaela Angela B. Swansing from the 1st District of Nueva Ecija. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Kong Akop.
Mr. Chair, may I proceed?
Yes, please proceed, Congressman Akop.
Marami pong salamat. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. And before I proceed with my interpellation proper, Attorney Hua.
Yes.
Yan. Would it be correct that you stated in the previous hearing na only the Vice President and the SDO know where the confidential funds went?
Based on the documents, Your Honor, I would assume so.
Did you state that?
What I was asked, Mr. Chair, I was asked, Your Honor, I think by Representative Castro, if I knew anything about it. And I said na sa totoo, wala po talaga akong kinalaman sa management or operation ng confidential funds. So if I remember correctly, the transcripts would probably bear me out. Tinanong niya, kung hindi ikaw sino? So I said, I would assume the signatories, Your Honor, of the certifications and of the other documents. And she asked me who. So I said the SDO and probably the head of agency.
So yung sagot po ninyo, it's a presumption.
Well, Your Honor, kasi hindi ko po alam kung saan.
Because you answered the question under oath.
Yes, Your Honor.
And therefore, you stated the name of the Vice President and the Special Dispersing Officer. That they're the only ones who know where the confidential funds went.
That is correct, Your Honor. No?
That is
Because
why I asked
based
you
on the documents. Yes.
whether you stated this statement in the last hearing.
Yes, Your Honor. But just to clarify, I mentioned it was based on the documents, Your Honor, because the documents would point that way.
Kasi kung titingnan ko yung statement po ninyo, kung wala nang ibang nakakalam kung saan napunta yung pondo, dalawang bagay lang ang nangyari. Di ba? Kasi either ibinulsa ni VP o ni STO o ginamit sa ibang bagay. Ni VP at saka ni STO. Di po ba?
Your Honor, please, I wasn't...
yun po yung sagot
but
ninyo.
I wasn't alluding to that, Your Honor. I wasn't alluding to that, Your Honor, if I may beg your indulgence.
Pawa, correct me if I'm wrong. Di ba? Yung pondo allocated sa office. Tama. Nagkasadban sila from Land Bank. Tama. Land Bank, nagkasadban sila doon, dinala sa opisina. Ang makaalam na lang doon ay yung head of office or head of agency at saka yung special disbursing officer. Tama. Di ba ba? At yung special disbursing officer, yun yung mag-allocate kung saan pupunta yung gagastusin yung pondo. Di po ba? Sagutin niyo ako, Kowa. Do you agree with me? Yes. Pakisabi sa mic para marinig po lahat.
With your permission, Your Honor, yes po, Your Honor.
Yes. And therefore, kung yung liquidation or clearing process ay hindi totoo at bogus, ibig sabihin nagamit yung pera sa ibang bagay. Would you agree with me, Kowa?
Based on your statement, Your Honor, and based on which you said that the liquidation or the documents are bogus, so we presume that the funds, no other evidence presented, were illegally disbursed.
Hindi po ba kayo kumbinsido sa mga sagot ninyo at saka sa mga katanungan ng aking mga kasama na yung DEPs or documentary evidence of payments or acknowledgement receipts ay puro may diferensya? Di po ba? And therefore, pag yung liquidation instruments, part of your clearing process or liquidation process ay mali-mali na, ay saan napunta yung pera? Tell me. Dalawang bagay lang po. Kasi dami ko na naimbestigahan na ganito nung nasa pulis ako eh. Saka sa PCINP. Di ba? Either ibinulsa or ginamit sa iba. Either way, mali. Di po ba? Would you agree, Kowa?
If the liquidation po is bogus,
Kasi hindi naman napunta doon sa totoo eh. Doon sa clearing instruments na binigay. Di ba? Kung naibulsa, masama. Tinaka mo na eh, di ba? Ngayon, kung ginamit sa iba, technical malversation yun. Would you agree with me, Attorney?
that is assuming it was not used as confidential expense.
Eh, mali na nga yung clearing instrument sa liquidation process eh. Ay, yung mali yung pag-clear at saka pag-liquidate, what is your conclusion?
That the funds were not used as confidential.
Supposed to be used.
As
As it is supposed to be
It's
used.
supposed to be used.
Yes. That is the logical conclusion. Di po ba? Would you agree with me, Madam Attorney?
Personal opinion, yes, Mr. Chair.
Ha?
Personal opinion po, Mr. Chair, yes, I would have to agree.
Ewan ko. Pero kasi sa dami na naimbestigahan ko, ganun ang nakikita ko eh. Kayo naman, ang tagal nyo na sa COA, hindi nyo pa rin nakikita yon. Di ba? Kasi if your liquidation or clearing process is wrong, di definitely yung kung saan pinuntan yung pera, hindi po dun sa tama. Could you give me an instance na mali yung liquidation process, tama yung pinuntahan ng pera? Pursuant to your guidelines?
Yun nga po, Mr. Chair, personal opinion, if the confidential funds were not used as it is intended to be used, it's already technical malversation.
Yes, kasi kitang-kita naman na yung paggamit po nila sa pondo, eh parang nilegalize lang nila from by their submission to you, yung DEPs nila o kaya ARs or acknowledgement receipts. Di ba? Na mali-mali.
Would you agree with me?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. Kasi yun ang nakikita ko na nangyari, process eh. Nag-withdraw sa land bank dahil nandun yung pondo na confidential fund. Dinala sa opisina yung SDO. Hindi ko alam. Kaya nga hinahanap namin yung SDO para tanuhin namin kung saan napunta eh. Paano niya inallocate yung pondo eh. But as it is, yung liquidation instruments, eh mali-mali po eh. Kaya sigurado ako, hindi napunta sa tama rin yung pondo. There are only two things na pinuntahan yung pondo. Nagamit sa iba o ibinulsa. So ayaw nyo matanggap yun. Ako, kaya kong tanggapin. Kasi marami na akong dinaanan na investigasyon. Na gano'n. Natameme kayo? Ha? Di ba? Could you please tell us? Kasi marami nangyayari ganito eh. Which, I think, you know. Kasi hindi lang naman doon sa OVP yan. Tingin ko. Okay? So, pwede po bang malaman? Yun pong mga certification na ginamit po yung security group ni Vice President. Tinanggap din po ninyo.
Mr. Chair, hindi po. Yung proof sa rewards ni OVP, hindi po. Kaya po na-disallow yung payment of rewards.
Sa DepEd.
Sa DepEd po kasi, parang na-team namin na independent party yung nagbigay ng certification. So,
Pakilapit lang yung...
since na-team namin na independent na group yung nag-issue ng certifications, we accepted the certifications.
So, tinanggap ninyo.
Opo, Mr.
Yung
Chair.
yung certification galing doon sa office ng Vice President Security Group.
Hindi po. Yun ang hindi po namin tinanggap since parang kasama din po ng OVP po yun eh. Pero yung sa DepEd kasi, ibang party na po kasi yung nag-issue ng mga certifications.
Ayun yung natanong na nung last hearing,
Yes,
yung mga
Mr. Chair.
Philippine Army units
Yes, Mr. Chair.
na nag-conduct ng Youth Leadership Summit.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. But would you agree with me that the office of the Vice President is separate from the office of the VPSG?
Yes, Mr. Chair. But they are the group that is specifically, it's like yung PSG po ni President na specific na naka-assign kay VP po.
Kaya nga. And would you agree with me also that the office of the security group of the Vice President would have their own funds?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and therefore would not need the confidential funds coming from the Secretary of the Department of Education and from the Office of the Vice President. Would you agree with me?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you. Wala kasi dito yung mga funds. Dapat yun ang tatanungin eh. Now, are you aware na there were 787 acknowledgement receipts where there were no names but there were signatures?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You're aware of that. And there were 302 ARs that had unreasonable names. Would you agree also?
Unreasonable names, Mr. Chair.
Unreadable.
Unreadable. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Then there were 5 names repeated.
That was not an observation, Mr. Chair. Yung repeated names po, hindi po namin naging
Hindi
observation.
nyo nakita yon. Okay. And insofar as the confidential fund of the Department of Education is concerned, yung location ng where the YLS were conducted did not match locations where information to support this YLS were supposedly bought. Would you agree with that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, more specific areas po yung certification.
Yes. Now, would you also agree that there were identical entries, amount expended, and number of receipts for the second and third quarter of 2023 for entries on provision of medical and food aid?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
It's not very unusual naman po. Since
Beg your pardon?
it's not very unusual naman po since pwede naman po talaga mangyari.
So, usual yung nangyayari yun.
Hindi naman po usual pero hindi naman siya ganun ka-unusual.
O sige, whether it's usual or unusual, is it in accordance with the joint circular?
Sa joint circular po kasi documentary evidence of payment lang po ang requirement.
Sa pakisagot lang yung tanong, whether usual or unusual, is it in accordance with your joint circular?
Since the document was submitted
You
po,
think they
yes
are?
po, yes.
So it's your opinion.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Uh-huh. May we go to yung kwan? Yung acknowledgement receipts or DEPs. Now, we have examined yung DEPs or acknowledgement receipts which were used to liquidate the confidential funds. And I would like, Mr. Chair, to make the following statements from the examination. May nakita po na mga acknowledgement receipts that all appear to be signed by the same pen. Would you agree with that also, Madam Kawa?
Yes, Mr. Chair, since either blue or black po yung
Yes, kaya nga. Makikita po natin ito sa color ng ink.
yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Which is a very distinct shade of blue na may shades of black. I think it's there shown. Yan di po ba yung acknowledgement receipts na nasa inyo?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And wala po kayong napansin?
Yung ni-note lang po namin is yung mga iba ang date, yung mga unsigned. Yun po, Mr. Chair.
Ganun.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to manifest that all these acknowledgement receipts are under the names of different persons, pero wala po dyan yung naulit. Dyan po sa 10 na yan. But if we look at it, the names and signatures of different persons appear to be written with the same pen, with a distinct ink on different dates. I think this is highly irregular. Bilang ako, isang investigador. Now, Madam Attorney, you confirm that you have received these acknowledgement receipts as part of the submissions of the Office of the Vice President to liquidate their confidential fund?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Okay. Now, would you agree with me that these 10 acknowledgement receipts appear to be written with the same color of ink? Yes?
Like I said, sir, it's either blue or black po kasi yung ink. So,
Gusto ko lang malaman yung sagot po ninyo.
yes, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you. And this is a distinct shade of blue na almost black. Parang may gradient po siya. Tama.
I cannot remember.
Kaya nga ikaw,
now,
sabi mo,
Mr.
ang sagot mo, it's either blue or black eh. Kasi parang naglalaro yung ink na ginamit sa blue or black.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Common
Yeah.
naman po yun na nakikita naman either blue or black ang signature.
When you say common, sa lahat po ba ng opisina na in-audit niyo, ganyan?
Either blue or black. Yes, Mr.
Blue or
Chair.
black din? Sa lahat ng opisina ng gobyerno na in-audit ninyo?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Like, kami rin, sir, either blue or black po ang ginagamit namin.
Ha?
Either blue or black din po yung ginagamit namin.
Yeah. And I would like to show kung ano yung ink dun sa pag-imbestiga namin. Yan. Yung kulay. It's Prussian blue. Would you confirm that this is the same or very similar color as the ones in the ARs that were submitted to you?
Hindi ko na maalala ang itsura, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Tingnan po natin yung yung pinirmahan ni Assistant or ASEC Ortonio. Hindi po ba parehas yung pinakita ko na Prussian blue?
Mukhang parehas, Mr. Chair.
Ha?
Mukha pong parehas.
Parehas. So it's the same ink used by ASEC Lemuel Ortonio, the Assistant Chief of Staff of the Office of the Vice President. Tama?
Mukha pong pareho, Mr. Chair.
Now, Mr. Chair, there had been also observations that there are acknowledgement receipts which bear the same or similar handwriting. Parehas po ang handwriting na. May nakita rin po ba kayong ganon, Madam Attorney? Na halos parehas ang handwriting doon sa mga AR?
Hindi naman po kami experts sa handwriting, Mr. Chair.
Na hindi naman kailangan ng expert para makita ko minsan yan eh. Comsec, pwede ba ipakita yung yung picture ng halos parehas ng ng handwriting? Yung AR dated July 27, 2023 and July 25, 2023. Pwede ipakita? Yung problem? Hindi may kwan. Dapat sila sa
Sir, may I be acknowledged while we're waiting for ICTS to fix the technical problem? Your
Yes,
Honor?
Comsec, you're acknowledged.
Your Honor, we would like to recognize Honorable Julian Jam Baronda, Deputy Majority Leader from the Lone District of Iloilo City, and Honorable Crispin Diego Ping Remulla, Vice Chairperson from the 7th District of Cavite, Your Honors.